Okay, we're going to set this up as though we were going to go camping, and that's engine running, parking brake applied, and this is a stowable parking brake, so even though it's on now, I'm able to push this down to the floor, and that will still allow me to rotate the seat around. I may have to move the seat forward a little bit just to get it past here, just so that the seat will turn around, and we can move it back there again. Okay, couple of things here on the controls. Anything on the left hand side will work your cruise control, more or less anything up here. These are touch pads that we're able to kind of go up and down and go through various different settings and adjust the adaptive cruise control here. On this one, this controls everything up here, so we're able to scroll across and get our navigation, Sirius XM, Bluetooth. It does support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That will be by plugging into this one up here, and I do have these adapters that we can move across if you have a larger USB cable. Wireless phone charger here. Press the buttons at the side, you can put your phone in there, and then it should clamp and charge your phone, and that is a reasonably powerful charger in there. Okay, let's go around and get the slide out. So when we open the door, we don't really want to just pull like that. That's going to be a bit tricky. We need to be able to push in, pull, and then the door will come out. It's important that when you do go to open the door, if you have any difficulty, nobody helps from the inside, because if both of these are used at the same time, the latch will disconnect from the inside and you will only be able to open it from the inside there. And then the door has to be kind of taken apart then afterwards. So I've also brought cords as well, so you can tie the handle to the driver's door handle of the vehicle, or the passenger door handle of the vehicle, so that the door doesn't slam shut if you're using this and take the screen out. Steps came out automatically there, and I'm able to now lock the steps out by using this switch here, so no matter how many times I open and close the door, the steps will remain out. Okay, let's see if we can get those jacks down and the slide out. So the leveling jacks are here. With the engine running, parking brake on, we simply just press power, and then we can press auto level, and the jacks will start to come down. It takes about a minute to a minute and a half for it to completely equalize, and the important thing is just kind of restrict the movements inside, just so that it's able to level easier and quicker. There's a beeping sound coming from the front of the RV, and that's just a warning to say that the leveling jacks are down and don't drive. This is where the slide is. The controls for the slide room are here, but it's important to check before you move the slide that there's nothing outside, like a tree or a hose spigot, that's going to interfere with the travel of the slide. The curtain here, no shoes, toys, anything down here. And then we're ready to use the rocker control switch up here to take out the slide. And once the slide is out, we just hold the button for maybe another 2 or 3 seconds just to tighten up those Schwintek motors. And I think our levers are just about finished, so we'll make our way back to the front here. And that should be it. And I'm going to turn off the engine now. It's important as well, once you do turn off the engine, to open and close the driver's door. That'll turn off the ECU up here. If you don't, this may stay running, the lights may stay on, and you could have a flat battery. So with that done, everything right now is running on 12 volt power. So our lights are going to work, our gas hob will obviously work, and our water heater and water pump will work. Let's take a look at the water pump first of all. If we want to use water in the RV, we press the button here, that turns on the water pump. We can also turn on the water pump from inside the bathroom. We'll take a look at that shortly. And then there's another place outside with the outside shower. We can turn on the water pump there. While we're on this one place thing, we'll take a quick look at our battery levels. This is the house battery here. The chassis battery that actually runs the Mercedes engine, that's up the top. And these are our tank levels. So our freshwater tank right now is 2/3 full. I generally don't fill it all the way up because the water weighs quite a bit and you want to make room for as much capacity as you can for your people and the belongings. LP gas is half full. And the gas is for the water heater and the gas hob and the gas grill takeoff if you're going to use one. The generator on this actually works on diesel, which we'll talk about in a second. Grey tanks are empty, black water tank is empty, and our solar that's up here, we never have to worry about it all. That is charging the lithium batteries in the step up the front. But this here is our inverter, and this will allow us to use the battery up the front, the house battery, to run the 110 volt appliances, say the microwave, the induction cooktop, the TVs, and the electrical outlets back here. We just press that. After about half a minute, we hear a couple of beeps around, and that's everything up and running. When we're connected to shore power, we don't have to worry about this at all because it's just going to take the 110 volts straight in and everything should run. It's worth keeping in mind this is a 30 amp coach, so you won't be able to run a lot of things at the same time. So if you're using the cooktop, you might not be able to use the hairdryer. If you use the microwave, you might not be able to use the cooktop or a Keurig coffee maker at the same time. So just think of it as how many things you would plug into one socket in your own kitchen. If in the event you do trip a breaker, super easy to get back again. You just open up down here. All your house breakers are right down here, and the one after it is just the 12 volt breakers in here. You will need a tool or something to open this out, but these are just like ordinary auto fuses right behind this one. We have a couple of extra lights here as well, and a nice light down here. We have reading lights up here. I can tap it once to kind of get a night light. I can hold it down and that'll give me a good bright light, and then just tap it again to close off the lights. We have 110 volt sockets here, as well as cigarette lighter plugs for a CPAP. Good storage there for your mobile phone. Space up here. We're able to lock any of these as well, you know, to stop them opening. That's it. In here, this is where we keep our vacuum cleaner, and there's a table there as well that we can use. We just take the pole there and put it into one of the holes up the front. When we put it into the hole, put the table on top. One thing just to be aware of there as well is make sure we take the table back up again before the slide comes in. Both TVs are smart TVs, so depending on the campsite that you're at, you may have Wi-Fi there, or you can use your phone, set it up as a hotspot, and you're able to point the TVs to your phone, and you can use Netflix or Amazon Prime. In here, we have our Keurig coffee maker and toaster. And generally I plug in the toaster or the Keurig coffee maker in the sockets above the sink. There's two sockets kind of hidden up there, up the top. That's it. Let's take a look at the bathroom. So here's the second place we can turn on the water pump. And we only need to use the water pump if we're going to use the water that's in the freshwater tank in the RV. If we're hooked up to city water, there's already pressure there, so absolutely no need to use the water pump at all. This is important. This is our water heater. Right now, as I turn it there, with just this little thing sticking in this direction, the water pump is off. If I turn it this way, just to normal, what happens here is the water will heat up now to 120 degrees at the instant hot water heater, so I get water pretty quick. The downside about leaving it in this position is that the propane is almost continuously running to maintain that 120 degree temperature, but we'd use less water. We're not waiting on water to heat up. If I move it up to this one here, and the orange light comes on again to tell me the water pump is on, that's maintaining the temperature now at 60 degrees, so it's not coming on as often. Probably ideal for if you're using city water then, because you can run that bit more water out of it. The most important thing is that we don't turn it clockwise down to the right, because that way it thinks it's in a clean cycle, and then it's in a kind of a lockout mode for 6 hours. There is a way of bypassing it. It has to be done on the water heater outside, and it's a little bit involved. With the water pump on, toilet pretty easy to use. Foot switch down there at the bottom, and just press, and there goes the water. Once you dump your black tanks, it's important to put maybe a few gallons of water back into this, and we do have some, let me see if we can get to these, some pods down here. You can just drop one of these straight down into the toilet, and that'll keep everything kind of clean and moving around. And that's it for in here. Shower is here. It's a good idea to kind of keep this thing closed during travel, you know, especially if it's wet, because if it does remain like that, then yeah, I'm going to get some mildew up there. Just as a final thing, if you are using battery power and you're camping overnight, in order to preserve battery, the refrigerator can go into a thing called night mode, and this will just run it at a lower power consumption rate, knowing that you're not going to be opening and closing the fridge all the time. Any button at all to wake it up, and then I just press the night button. Now, so that's going to stay in night mode for 8 hours, and then afterwards it'll come out by itself, but I can override that just by pressing that again. And it is a regular compressor refrigerator, so it does cool down quite quickly. And that's it for inside, I think. Let's just look at the air conditioning before we go. On the wall here is the air conditioner. If you need to use this without being connected to shore power, this is the only thing that's going to require the generator to work. It is a diesel generator. You'll start it from the one place back up above by holding down the stop button for a second, and then press the start button. It'll come up and run, and we're able to cycle through our different things here. Generally don't set it more than 10 degrees lower than what the actual temperature is showing here. I think if we were to put it all the way down, maybe select 50 degrees when it's 80 in here now, you run the risk of freezing the coil on the air conditioner outside, and that can cause problems. It is ducted air in here, which is kind of nice. So you can actually close off these here, and you can open up the vents depending on what part you're in. If you're sleeping, close these off. You can have it ducted into the bathroom as well, so you get a much more directed airflow around. Okay, let's take a look outside. So let's take a look here. Connect your freshwater hose to here. You will not need the water pump on once you're connected to mains, because there's enough pressure in the system already, and that's it. If you do want to fill up the freshwater tank, if you're connected here, you're able to move this to tank fill, and it will start filling up the tank from the freshwater. Up top here, you will still have to open this anyway. You can fill in here, but you will have to put a hose in here, and the way you'll know it's full is that the water will come out a small little section on here. As we move further on down, this is where you will connect up your dump hose, and I'll actually, yeah, we can see there, that will come off, connect on your hose there, put the other end of your dump hose in. When you take this off, kind of just be aware, because of where the grey tank is behind the wheel there, you will get a small little bit of water that's going to come out here. Not much, but it's not black water, it's just the grey water coming down from the hose back there. Once you're connected up, this is the lever for your black water tank. Pull this first. Your black water is going to come rushing out. Once that's done, you can now empty your grey water tank if you wish. the grey water, it's a little bit different from other RVs just because you need to pump the water from the grey tank that's behind the rear axle up and over the axle to come out the same thing again. So once you've got your grey water dumped, close this, come back over to here, and we're able to pull down here. This is our grey waste tank valve. Pull that open. Now you're not going to get the grey tank water out just yet. You have to press the drain pump button, and that starts a macerator pump back there. So with the macerator pump running, you just hold that down until you hear the sound change ever so slightly, and then you're almost at the bottom of the grey water. There's no point holding it down, you know, because it's going to get jammed up or stuck or whatever. So yeah, just hold it down until you hear the sound change, and then you know you've taken out the bulk of the grey water. That's it. This guy back in there again. Now you can decide if you want to actually flush out the grey water tank. You'll have the grey water tank valve open. You're able to connect the green hose that we have stored in the compartment over the other side, connect it to that, and then just run for 5-6 minutes, whatever, and that'll completely flush out the grey water tank. There's a spray up the top in there, and that'll kind of flush all that out. That's it. Close everything up. That down. Let me just slip that back in there. So we move along here. The last compartment, the one with no lock on it, is actually our propane tank there, and everything goes there. I generally run with it open. I don't generally close it at all, and that's just the power there for the hydraulic jacks. Finally, up here is where you will fill with diesel. Diesel tank there. And one thing with all diesel engines now is they have to take an additive into the vehicles. The diesel exhaust fluid is just to keep the fumes down. So I've just opened the hood there now, and you can see in here, this is where your diesel exhaust fluid will go. There is a gauge on the dashboard that tells you what your diesel exhaust fluid level is. I generally don't fill it until it's at least halfway down, because then I know this will take the entire jug of diesel exhaust fluid, and I'm not left with half a jug going around the truck. And that's it.